I think people get jealous because they see my life, and my life is incredible. I'm not going to lie, but there's a lot of work involved as well.
I get jealous of your life. I'll be real.
This is a topic we could clearly talk on for a very long time. It's fascinating. I'm always learning new things, and I love that, Ellen, you can provide the marketer's perspective on it. Welcome to All Bodies on Bikes, the podcast, where all bodies are good bodies, all bikes are good bikes, and all rides are celebrated.
All Bodies on Bikes is a movement to create and foster a radically inclusive bike community. So join your hosts, I'm Ellen,
And I'm Marley,
as we explore the complexities of the biking world. Help us break down barriers and create the world that we want to see.
And don't forget that all bodies really means all bodies, not just larger bodies, but bodies of all sizes,
Ages,
races,
abilities,
genders,
sexualities.
and beyond. Come along for the ride.
Are you texting instead of talking to me now?
Yeah, sorry.
It's rude.
I know. I was being a good sponsored athlete and looking at my comments on Instagram so I could engage with them. Because engagement is the name of the game.
Engagement.
Engagement. Speaking
That
of, I've
algorithm.
been wearing my old engagement ring just to feel fancy sometimes.
I love that.
Right after we broke up, I tried to sell it. And because it's well, don't make that face. Like,
Sorry. That was rude.
I mean, what else am I supposed to do with this beautiful? I tried to give it back to him. I was like, well, you bought it for me.
I am truly sorry that I made a face about you trying to get some money out of your broken engagement.
I love that I could just like see your face and be like, oh yeah, she's judging me.
Sorry.
It's okay. Don't be sorry. Bring it on. Bring me your unhinged judgment.
We're not sponsored by diamond people, so it doesn't
if they
matter
want
what
to.
we say about diamonds. Tell me how you've made an ethical diamond and I'll listen.
And then I'll regurgitate it on Instagram for all my followers to see
Ta-da!
and hopefully comment on, and then I will engage with those comments.
Full circle. I like it. Do you know what I just realized?
No.
Our color scheme is inverse of each other. My hair is
Oh.
purple and your shirt
My
is
shirt.
purple. Your earrings are teal and my shirt is teal.
Oh my God.
How good are we at this? If anyone would like to see this, the video is on Spotify and YouTube as well.
And you can watch us make awkward faces and not be aware of ourselves. I watch some podcasts and their faces always look so good. And then I watch our recordings and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Exactly what's on your face.
Yes.
It's like, I know exactly what you're thinking.
That's fair.
That's
That's
me.
fair.
Well, tell me more about your shirt though, Marley.
Oh, this is my Shredly Fast as a Mother Effing Manatee shirt. For the last 2 years, I have got to make a collaboration line with Shredly, which is every athlete's dream. This year, we are switching to ice creams because ice cream plays an outsized role in my book. Shredly's actually coming out with a new gravel line of cycling clothing. So they're
Nice.
coming out with like tights, and they already had bibs, but now they're going to have like a more form-fitting jersey, and I'm super, super stoked about it. And I think other gravel and road folks will be too. But and it, oh my God, this is so wild. It has my signature on it, like literally my name.
Literally a signature collection.
Yeah.
So now we can all take your signature and sign things.
Good luck. There's not any money to be had, so
Wah, wah, wah. Hey folks, we're going to teach you how to do something that doesn't make any money.
that's not true. I actually, all transparency, I have made more money in 2025 than I've ever made previously.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was very easy, and all you have to do is post to Instagram once or twice.
Brands just come out of the woodwork and say, let me give you $10,000 just for being your cute, weird self.
Yeah. Authenticity sells, man.
I mean, it truly does. And sometimes the conversations actually do go like that, where they're like, we love you. We just want you to be yourself. Here's some money to do that. But that is the exception rather than the norm.
Okay. So we're going to dive into your life as an influencer, as someone who is getting sponsored by people.
Yeah.
To hopefully be yourself, but at the very least to borrow your expertise, to like kind of have your voice be a part of their voice in the world. So I want to know more about this. I want to know all kinds of things. What would you say is like an overarching part of this? What is like, if I say, I want to do this, how do you do it? What's your first thing?
Oh, that's such a good question. It is all about relationships. Whereas like with the traditional job, you've got one boss. When you are sponsored or working as an influencer, you have as many bosses as companies that are working that you're working with.
Mm.
And so you are constantly trying to juggle the requirements of one contract, the requirements of another contract, creating content for XYZ brand. And so it's really good if you like having a schedule that is completely bonkers and you thrive off of a lack of consistency and routine and hustling. And you really have to you do have to hustle. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to be okay with the no's, but you've also got to be really I guess secure and confident in your offer to these brands
Okay.
because influencers and I I struggle because I'm like, am I an influencer? Am I a sponsored athlete? I think I kind of toe the line
Yeah.
because I am getting paid as if I'm a professional athlete by a couple brands. I'm under contract with them. I have specific things I need to do. I'm not getting paid for podiums, obviously, because that would be a losing prospect for all of us. Um, but I am getting paid as if I was a sponsored athlete.
Okay.
So I kind of have two funnels of income. Right now, I have like my long-term brand partnerships like Shimano, Shredley. For the past 4 years, I worked with Cannondale. I no longer am working with them as a bike sponsor, but that's a relationship where we are working together for the entire year. We've got projects together, and I get a set salary. The other side of things that I do is like one-off influencer projects with specific brands. And so, like last year, I did a big project with EF Adventures where I got to go to France, got to ride the Tour de France Femme. And so I got paid a certain amount to deliver specific content deliverables, so certain reels and stories. And so I basically pull a bunch of those together, and that's how I make my living.
That's so interesting. It's cool that you have this kind of like the two different tracks that
Yeah,
you have to where you've got some steady income, you know what your year is going to look like, and then you've got options to plug and play with other opportunities that come along. Um, do you hope that those opportunities turn into long term? Or is it,
sometimes.
yeah, like
Yeah.
what's the
I mean,
benefit about
I hope they turn into like long-term relationships where it's like they think of me when they're like, "Hey, we've got this new campaign coming out," or they want to work with me again. But the thing that I've found is like the long-term partnerships often pay less than these one-off content pieces. I think there's more money to be made in those short-term deals than there is in the long-term deals, and that's also because the bike industry is just not doing very well.
yeah,
And so there's more money to be made elsewhere.
yeah. Tell me about how you would look at a contract. So what I just heard in there is an assumption that it's kind of like the price per content declined. So is there a threshold that you look to for how much work you're doing, or is it like you do the math and you won't do it if it's under a certain level?
Yeah, I won't work for free anymore. I used to work for like gifted content or gifted product where it's like, we'll send you a tent, you make us a reel. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great. But tents don't pay my bills or sleeping bags or tires or whatever. And so
Right.
now like payment is like bare minimum. Like you have to pay
Right.
me. Um, and then it just depends on, who the brand is, what their product is. I'm pretty selective about the brands that I work with. If it's not a brand that I truly like and use their product, I'm not
Mm,
going to make content for you. And I think that's a difference between me and a lot of other influencers where they'll just go for, who's ever willing to pay them money. But I want my audience to trust me and I want them to come to me for advice. And if I am just willy nilly throwing out brands that are paying me the highest paycheck, that trust is like totally eroded.
What you just described, though, kind of does give me a view of how you grow. You were at one point when you were starting out doing swapsies. And
Yes,
then as your platform grew, as your brand grew, you could ask for more and ask for more and ask for more. And
exactly.
that I think is a really, if you are someone who's listening and wants to start doing this, is a good way to position this. It's a process. This is not a kaboom situation.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is you develop a reputation. Brands talk to each other and brand managers talk to each other and they will share. And I've heard this from brand managers. They say like, "Oh, that person was really difficult to work with. It was they didn't deliver things on time, or we had to go back for revisions multiple times. And so being somebody that these brands want to work with and making yourself responsive to emails, you have to treat it like a real job. You have to respond to emails. After the campaign, you need to send follow-up metrics and thank you notes. It's all about relationship building. And I think a lot of people treat it transactionally, and to be successful, you really can't.
And I will say, from my side of things as a marketer, it's choosing this channel over another channel. It's choosing to put my dollars behind you instead of something else. I have to report back to my superiors about how this campaign performed. And it's not just that I'm not going to lump all of my influencers into one bucket, because I need to understand, did Marley's perform better than Shirley's, better than Burley's, better than Hurley's? And
Exactly.
so providing those, being proactive, is helping me do my job, is helping me like understand that I can trust you as the person buying into this.
It's also, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to shift gears. So what were you going to add?
Oh, I was going to say it's really interesting when you report these metrics back, because every company is looking for something a little bit different. So some of them will provide you with like a UTM link. So it's like a link that you put in your bio, and they're tracking the number of clicks that you drive. And I like doing content like that. I think my audience is pretty responsive, but there's other brands who aren't necessarily, they're not looking for that. They're looking for brand awareness as their metric. And so, number of comments, number of shares, number of saves. And so every time you interact with my content on social media, that's being tracked, and not specifically, it's being tracked in a very good way. So if you see content that one of your favorite content creators or athletes puts out and it appears to be sponsored, there should be a disclosure on it. That's something that drives me absolutely batty. Can we come back to that and talk about that?
Yep.
But so there should be a disclosure on that. And then you should interact with it.
Yes.
Like, share, save, send to a friend. That all helps whoever the content creator is and the brand. And yeah, it's a really easy way that you can support folks, even if you don't have the money to buy what they are hawking at you.
Yes. The metrics that matter to them should be defined at the beginning. You should have in your contract with them, I'm assuming, you can provide the details around this, but there will be here's what we're looking at to understand if this is successful. And marketing does have those different phases. Sometimes it is about just get my name out there. Other times it's about driving sales. Other times it's about referral or growing the audience. Like, there are these very different steps that I am looking at as a marketer, and it's called the funnel. And if you ever want to get nerdy about that with me, I'm very ready. But it has a lot to do. It's like, brand awareness needs big numbers.
Yes.
Sales needs smaller, but higher quality numbers. So it all has to do with, what is this? What are you trying to do? And it helps you phrase your messages the right way. It helps do I just need to say, this is such a cool brand? Or do I need to say, there's a thing I want you to do, and it's go to that site?
Exactly.
And it helps you, that'll help you all just be on the same page from the beginning. Everybody understands what's going on.
Yeah. Back to your question from like 10 minutes ago about other things that I look for in contracts. So I actually signed with an agency about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and they help me with a lot of my contracts now. And that's primarily on the content creation. They do work with me on my longer term contracts, but we're looking for things like exclusivity. If a brand partner wants me to be exclusive and only use their product within a segment, that's going to cost more money. We're looking for usage rights. Can they repost my content on their own channels? What are we agreeing to? Perpetuity, timelines. It gets pretty nerdy and pretty intense. I learned to read contracts pretty closely. The other interesting thing that happens is there's often like behavior contracts in there, where it's like you won't post anything disparaging or anything that could reflect the brand in a negative light. And so that's always in the back of my mind when I'm creating other content, even if it has nothing to do with my sponsors. Like, I'm sponsored by Shimano, and they have kind of a behavior clause for all of their athletes. And it's like, I know that I'm not going to show myself getting super drunk. These are not things I would do anyway, but getting super drunk, riding my bike in an unsafe way, and causing mayhem, because that's going to reflect poorly on my sponsors.
Yeah. I was going to mention this when you talked a little bit about finding the right brands anyway. if you go into this, you need to have your own set of those principles because
Yes.
that helps you match well when the brand has shared principles. And it helps you say no.
Yeah.
If your gut is not in it, you kind of can know why. And it helps narrow the field. I realize we're talking about a pretty niche industry to begin with. It's not like there's, you know, a million clothing brands the way that there are cycling, other way around. There's not like there's a million cycling brands the way there are clothing brands. But there are plenty out there and they are different for a reason. And there's going to be better alignment with these and the others. Understanding that helps you narrow your focus, helps you narrow your message, helps you know how to get into relationships and partnerships with these different brands.
Yeah. Yeah. And you really should like the products that you are promoting.
Yep.
For me, that's been really easy because the brands that I work with, Osprey, Shimano, Ride with GPS, Shredly, all have incredible products that I already use and love. And so sharing that with my audience is totally natural and it's not a big stretch. Back to your topic of saying no, I was approached by like 4 different GLP-1 companies last year to make content. And that would have been really quick, really easy money, but they are all focused on weight loss. And as I shared previously in my article for Cycling Weekly, I was on a GLP-1 and it was not for weight loss. But as soon as that came out, the brand just came out of the woodwork of like, oh, do you want to promote this one? Will you promote that one? And I was like, I had to put a hard line with my agent and say, I do not want anything weight loss related. And so I think I've probably missed out on some earning opportunities, whether from supplements or, you know, whatever. But it's
But
more important to me to stick by my values.
yes,
Yeah,
like you lose your entire platform if you sell out.
exactly.
It might have been a big opportunity, yes, but in the long term, it's not the right investment.
Exactly. And my audience would see right through it and ask
Mhm.
questions and be like, Marley, this is bullshit.
Marley, you're a sellout. Buy the book, sellout.
Do you know what's funny? My all-time favorite song is Sell Out by Real Big Fish. Um, and it's been my favorite song since like 7th grade. Uh, and I still listen to it and I'm like, I am a sellout and I am 100% okay with that because I am living my dream. Like, I'm getting paid to ride my bicycle and do cool things. Like,
Yes.
call me a sellout all you want. It's fine.
It is funny because marketing is inherently somewhat capitalistic and I am increasingly anti-capitalist. And so I have a strange relationship with my job
Yeah,
sometimes.
me too.
Not this job, but just my job. And it's true though. Like, and then this is again where it's like it's the big picture of it. This is the system. I alone cannot bring down capitalism. That's a thing for another
As
podcast.
much as you're trying.
Yeah, so I'm working within the system, and so what feels good to me within the system to do, and so I'm not going to work for brands. Like I have skills that could take me to a Google, to a Amazon, probably. Maybe I'm tooting my own horn too loudly, but it's not. I would not go over there because that is just not a match for what I want to do in the world.
Yeah,
How do you make this all work? You are getting paid to ride your bike. That is very exciting.
it's wild. It's
It is.
absolutely wild. Okay, can we go back to talking about disclosures?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna get real nerdy for a second. The
Mhm.
FTC, the federal, oh my God, I should have known
Trade
this.
commission.
Thank you. The Federal Trade Commission has very, very specific guidelines on when you need to disclose that something is an ad. If you're thumbing through People Magazine or Newsweek and there's like an ad section, if you look at the very top in fine print, it will say this is a paid advertisement. Same thing in newspapers. Same thing, actually, I noticed it on a streaming platform the other day. Like it says sponsored content.
Mm.
Those regulations and rules are supposed to apply to influencers and athletes. Anytime you are provided something for free or you are compensated in exchange for a post, you are supposed to disclose that. You're supposed to disclose it like within the first line or two of the caption. The FTC, actually, we should link to this because the FTC has like a really good infographic about this for influencers that I
Okay.
think like 0.0% of influencers follow. And it drives me nutty.
Oh.
Because it's just like it's not fair. The algorithm on these social media platforms, as soon as you put hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored, it feels like it gets less views. And so I
Yeah.
understand why other people are not fully disclosing because it does impact your engagement and your views, but it's just not fair. Like, and fairness to me is very, very important. It always has been. Like, give me the same size slice of cake as everybody else because that is not fair. And it just like I see these posts from other influencers and athletes, and I want to comment like, were you paid for this? Where's your sponsorship disclosure? But I know being petty is not the name of the game. Yeah, but I have written that before and then erased it because it's not going to do any good. And then it's just like it's actually engaging with their post, which is what we all want. I hate when people don't follow the rules that we're all supposed to follow.
Hey, I'm a middle child. I am right there with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
I
you.
get it.
Rules
But it's
exist
also just
for a reason.
Yeah, inherent equality and equity of these people are getting away with something that you feel like you would not, and you don't want to because the rules are fair. Anyway.
Yeah.
But
also, you should know when somebody's getting paid to sell you something.
You should. That's why that's why the rule is to disclose it, because it's like introducing a conflict of interest, basically.
Exactly.
Of them saying, I was paid to do this.
Yeah.
Even if you wanted to, you were paid to do it.
Exactly. And I admit, like, there is some gray area there. So for some of my long terms, like with Cannondale, every time I posted a picture of me with a Cannondale bike, I didn't necessarily say sponsored or gifted.
Sure.
And I probably should have if I'm following the letter of the law precisely from the FTC. But you got to find a balance there. You know, if I am explicitly telling somebody to buy something and that I was paid to tell them that, like all the EF Adventures posts, like those were very clearly EF Adventure partner sponsored because I got paid. I got paid to go to France and go on this incredible trip and try and get you to sign up for that same trip.
Well, and I think part of that for me is that and maybe this isn't right, so maybe correct me here, but EF approached you. It's not like you sat there and said, let me research every French e-bike tour company to see that this is the one that I recommend. Or it's not like every French e-bike tour company went to you and said, we're all giving you one ride. Now you rank us.
Right.
Like, it is one company saying, we're going to pay you to have a good time and tell everybody about it.
Exactly.
Which is different than either of those other two situations. Yes. And that's what we need to know. We need to know that there wasn't thought behind this other than they said yes to me going on this trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you lose all the other context that people are expecting with that endorsement if it were presented as just, I, Marley, am telling you to go on this ride.
Exactly.
This is the why.
Yes.
Okay, but why? Well, because they paid me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, like, for example, I went to the Oregon coast recently and I made a reel about my adventure on the Oregon coast. And yes, the goal of that is to hopefully get Travel Oregon or, you know, one of those beachfront towns to see that and say, oh, we should hire her to come out and make more content, or, you know, another tourism bureau. That's the goal of that one. But I wasn't paid for that. I paid for my own lodging. I paid for my own gas. I paid for everything. And so I'm not going to mark that post as sponsored because it wasn't. Even though, you know, if Travel Oregon wants to use it, hey, reach out, you know, we can give you licensing rights. But yeah, it's just all about disclosure, you know, letting people know what they're watching.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one other element that I'd love to talk, I mentioned this at the beginning, but knowing what your pitch is to these brands. Why are you a good salesperson for them? And people have different methods of doing this. I think the most effective that I've found over the past couple of years is a media kit. So like pitch deck / media kit. I've got one on my website that I need to update, but essentially it is, here's who I am. Here's the content I make. Here's why this is important to your brand. Here's my audience. Knowing who your audience is key. So you got to look into your demographics. For me, my sweet spot is women 35 to 65, primarily in the US, but I have a very large contingent in Germany, interestingly enough.
So does the podcast.
Yeah, which we love. I mean, Germany's really into bikes. But knowing that, and so when I, you know, pitch Tampax or if I pitch REI, I can say this to them like, hey, I know that you have a sales target. That's a whole nother topic. Research the brand you're pitching and see, you know, what is their sales strategy for the next quarter, and then incorporate that in. But yeah, just knowing what your value is. For me as a plus size cyclist, I can say to them, hey, 70% of the US lives in a bigger body. This is an untapped market. Like, let me introduce my audience to your brand. And so yeah, that's kind of
Yeah,
how I approach it.
absolutely. And that is marketing 101 again, is like, know your buyer,
Yeah.
know what matters to them, know how those pieces match between you and them, because they want it to work as much as you do. Have a perspective on the market, have a reason that they would choose you over everybody else. In a former life, I was a travel blogger,
What?
and it's a long story, but there are many travel bloggers. And so I went to a conference of travel bloggers and I was like, I am such a poser. Like, why would I start writing when there are thousands of other people? And it's still, you as the producer have your own unique perspective on all of this. There is something about you that is unique in this market.
Yeah. I had that experience recently. I went to North Carolina with Atlas Obscura and visit North Carolina. It was like a creator trip. And so there were, I think, 10 of us there. And every other person that was there was like a photographer or a
Sure.
travel blogger or a travel content creator. And I'm trying to get more into the travel side of things, just because that's what I love to do. That's where the money is at. It's
Yeah.
fun. And you can incorporate cycling into it so seamlessly. And cycling is such a good way to see these places. But I had huge imposter syndrome
Yeah.
because all of these creators showed up with drones and tripods and their whole like fancy camera. And I was like, cool, I brought my phone. But I tell you what, if you look at the content that we made, so for this trip, that was interesting. None of us were paid, which I typically won't do an unpaid trip. But I was like, I'll go to North Carolina, all expenses paid. Like, this sounds like a really cool opportunity. And so there is times when I will say yes to unpaid work. Anyway, point being, you look at the content that we all made, and even the followers who have, or excuse me, even the creators who have much bigger audiences than me, we're talking 300,000, 500,000 people. My content performed better than theirs in terms of comments, shares, reposts. And I think that's because of the way that my audience trusts me. They know me.
And authenticity.
Exactly.
There's a certain production value sweet spot to where if it starts to look overproduced, it starts to feel overproduced and not authentic.
I'm going to lean into that next time when I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
But that's true.
Ellen
And
said crappy content is authentic.
I don't have any metrics to back it up. That's where my nerdy brain is like, I don't know what I'm saying. But I know as just a normal consumer, I trust a person who can. Yeah, I noticed this the other day actually. When you can see that someone's reading from a script,
Yeah.
even if I know that they're an authentic person, I'm sitting here like, why did you need to script this?
Yeah.
Why did you not just know the content? And there are plenty of very valid reasons to script your content. But like, I just noticed it, and so it's like the authenticity is not to be discounted, and you are your most authentic self. So
100%.
I'm
And
like,
ideally, actually, this happened to me. I had some content that I was doing for a brand, and they had like 5 pieces of information that I had to get out within the first like 15 seconds. Which can be really, really hard. And so I did read off a teleprompter and I submitted my first draft, and the client came back and said, we don't really love this. It doesn't feel authentic. Can you redo it? And I
yep.
did, but it took a couple of back and forths of like, hey guys, I can't get all these data points out that you want me to get out without sounding like a robot. And so it's kind of a push and pull and working with the client. But it's challenging. And I think that goes to another point of like, when you are a sponsored athlete, you're not, or a content creator or whatever, that encompasses so many different skills, from the business side of things of reading contracts and filing your taxes and doing all of that stuff, to the actual production side of things, filming things, knowing lighting, knowing audio, editing. There is a lot involved. And then the marketing side of it, what captions are going to get people to engage, what links do I send them? There are just a lot of moving parts that I think a lot of people are like, I could be a content creator, and then they try it. It's like, holy cow, one reel took me 3 days to make. And it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. That was one of my questions for you before we had just a very good conversation about it. Was like how much time and effort goes into a reel.
Yeah.
Like, and I say this because I'm the person sitting here as the asshole who's like, I could do that. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
Which is
I mean, I think for me, I tend to be a little more off the cuff than other content creators. And I tend to come up with my concepts on the fly. A lot of people will sit down and storyboard out the whole thing. For me, I have a general idea and I'll go out and capture the content. And then I come back and I'll write the script and then edit it and put it together. So each reel, I mean, we're looking at 6 to 12 hours, depending on the content. My challenge right now is I get super overwhelmed with the amount of footage that I get. So I have these dreams of being more of a long form content creator. And so I film all of this stuff. Like I have so much footage from my 100 miles last year at Unbound on my GoPro that is just doing nothing because I'm like, I don't know where to begin editing this. And so, yeah, you leave more on the cutting room floor. Like for each 30-second reel, I probably have 30 minutes to an hour of content.
That's true of this podcast and of the clips that we make and like the teaser trailers that I make. I always start with like however long these episodes are is what I start with.
Yeah.
And then I have to kind of think through what were the highlights, what's going to grab attention, what's funny, what's sincere. How do I splice it together to grab someone's attention in the first 15 seconds? Because I think it's less than that, truly.
Oh, yeah. I think it's like the first 3 seconds.
Yeah.
When you look at like the skip rate on reels, like people, if they're not engaged right away, and I'm the same way. I just scroll right past it. Like I'm like, I don't, bye.
Yeah, same Z's. I think I have a longer attention span for watching because then I get the sunk cost fallacy of I've watched 10 minutes. I'm going to see how this ends. And I get real annoyed when they end like really boringly. Anyway, shorter, like it's interesting when I force myself to make it a minute because it's like the 4 minutes was interesting, but it wasn't like it wasn't like grabby and it wasn't dynamic enough for myself going like if I were to review like take an hour away from it and come back, it's like, oh yeah, no, this needs to move faster. It needs to be, and I do think it's better then because I've chosen quality over length. Like I've taken the time to make it good.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all very related. And it takes time.
Yeah.
Every time we have a post about it.
I made a reel last night about I went to see the crows roosting. And I initially had it at like a 3-minute long video and it was so cool. And then I was just like, this isn't going to perform. So I ended up cutting it down to like 1.5 minutes, which is still a lot, but I think I think people will still watch it. We'll see. It's funny because I can tell almost immediately when I put something on social media if it's going to perform well or not. Like I'll post it and then I'll go back within 5 minutes. And if there's not like probably 100 likes and 5 comments, I'm like, oh, that reel is going to flop.
Interesting. Which has got to be part of the algorithm.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
That's true across several platforms, ad platforms, at least that I work on in the background. It's like each algorithm has a window where it is just watching to see what happens organically. And then it will start to turn it out on or off based on how that performs. So
yeah.
In marketing, at least on LinkedIn, we call it the golden hour, and people try to hack. It's like, we're going to post it at this time. Hey, everybody from the company, go interact with the post because then it will get more organic exposure.
Yeah. It's funny. This conversation has turned into more about content creation, but I was hoping to talk about bike industry sponsorship and what that's like.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We have time.
We do have time.
I can cut for length.
Editing, magical powers. But yeah, I get a lot of questions from folks about, well, how do I get sponsored? And there is no one good answer to that. I mean, one good answer is to be really fast. You know, if you win Unbound or if you win a big race, you are likely going to garner sponsorships. But clearly that is not the case with me. I have literally never won a race. I've gotten last place in multiple races. But for me, it's all about storytelling, making those relationships with the brands and proving that my audience is engaged and is a valuable audience for them to engage with. It was really interesting this year. So I do not have a bike sponsor for 2026, which is kind of wild. Not to toot my own horn, but I was like one of the bicycling magazine's riders of the year a couple years ago. I was an outsider of the year from Outside Magazine. Like, it's kind of surprising to not have a bike sponsor. And I think it's just an indication of where the bike industry is at right now. And so, to be clear, nothing went wrong with Cannondale. They were wonderful. I loved working with them. But they're just struggling. And so they actually had to drop a bunch of riders from their roster, which sucks. Because it's nice to like stick with the same sponsor year after year, that relationship building. But it's funny because I put that post up on Instagram about, I don't have a bike sponsor. And people were like, oh, talk to Liv, talk to Salsa, talk to so-and-so. And it's like, do you think I didn't? I've been having these conversations since about August. I could see the writing on the wall. So started talking to brands, you reach out, you send them your pitch deck, and then you just talk about what a potential relationship could look like. And I'm not ready to announce it quite yet, but I do have a bike sponsor from Mid-South.
Yay!
Yeah. And so I am kind of switching techniques a little bit. Instead of having like one bike sponsor for the entire year, I'm going to go for like event specific things to make sure that I'm on like the best bike for that purpose and make content. So I'm really, really excited about that.
It's smart. And it's a good way to be strategic. And again, from the marketing side, it's like, that's a smaller bite. So I'm not giving you as much money, but I'm going to see if it works and see if this is a magical combination.
Exactly. But I'm re-signed to a Shredley with Ride with GPS with Osprey packs for next year, and Shimano has been a huge supporter. And people are like, what does a Shimano sponsorship look like? And it is as good as you can imagine. Like, I get, I think, a couple group sets a year and get a couple sets of wheels. It also includes a laser sponsorship, so I get helmets, sunglasses, and shoes.
Nice.
So it's quite lovely.
Sounds great. You're kitted out every year.
Yeah. I think the other really cool thing about being a sponsored athlete, at least in my case, and I think this is the case for other sponsored athletes, is you're often involved with product development. So for, I think, every brand that I work with, I have signed an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. And so I'm behind the scenes on conversations with new things being developed at Osprey, new components from Shimano. So it's really cool. You get to take part in that and get to give genuine, honest feedback about what works, what doesn't. This is how I liked it. And that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, it is. And then you get to be a voice for your demographic, whatever slice it is that you're representing at that point in time.
Exactly. Yeah. You get to do cool. I get to do photo shoots, and that's always fun because I'm like, oh God, I'm doing a photo shoot with Taylor Ladine and Amanda Nauman, who are two like professional level cyclists, professional gravel cyclists. And it's always like, oh God, are they going to ride slow enough for me? Because they typically want you in like a V formation, but it's so fun to get to work with these other like super high caliber athletes and know that like, we're on the same team. We're just riding very differently.
Yeah. And it's all good riding.
It is. So
very fun.
Yeah, I think if folks have other questions about being sponsored, this is a topic we could clearly talk on for a very long time. It's fascinating. I'm always learning new things. And I love that, Ellen, you can provide the marketer's perspective on it. So I think, if folks have other questions, they should hit us up in the comments.
This has been really informative, and I think it's been really eye-opening, and hopefully people can take it and run with it if you've been considering this. And if nothing else, it's a really fun peek behind the curtain of Marley.
Yeah, I think people get jealous because they see my life, and my life is incredible. I'm not going to lie. Like, it is phenomenal, but there's a lot of work involved as well.
Yes, I get jealous of your life. I'll be real. But then I also sit there, it's like, I'm not going to sit there and make a reel, am I?